In the bustling cafeteria of Lincoln High School in suburban Chicago, Chase Thompson's world shattered when a tray of slop, mashed potatoes mixed with mystery meat gravy, and what looked like cafeteria floor scraps, was dumped over his head by Jake Harlan, the star quarterback, amid jeers of "faggot" echoing through the room. The sticky mess dripped down his face, burning his eyes with humiliation as teachers looked the other way, pretending not to notice the boys being boys ritual that had targeted him for months. But that day in 2005, as Chase sat frozen, wiping the filth from his glasses, he made a silent vow. He would escape this hell, build a life where no one could touch him, and never forgive the monsters who made him feel like garbage. Chase had always known he was different. Growing up in a conservative family in the Midwest, where church on Sundays meant sermons on traditional values, he hid his attractions like a shameful secret. His father, a factory worker with calloused hands and rigid expectations, dreamed of Chase following in his footsteps, marrying a nice girl, having kids, keeping the family name strong. But at 16, Chase's crush on a classmate slipped out in a whispered conversation overheard by the wrong ears, and the bullying began. Jake Harlan, with his broad shoulders and easy charm, led the pack. It wasn't just words. It was shoves in the hallway, notes in his locker scrawled with slurs, and now this public degradation. As Chase walked home that afternoon, the gravy stench clinging to his clothes, he felt a rage bubbling inside, a mix of self-loathing and defiance. Why me? He thought. What did I do to deserve this? That night, dinner at the Thompson house was tense. Chase's mother, Sarah, a quiet nurse who worked double shifts, noticed his disheveled state but said nothing at first. His father, Bill, grunted about the smell and demanded an explanation. Chase lied, saying he tripped in gym class, but Sarah pulled him aside later, her eyes searching his. Chase, if something's wrong at school, you can tell me. He wanted to spill everything, the confusion about his feelings, the torment, but the fear of rejection stopped him. What if she saw him as broken? Instead, he shrugged it off, retreating to his room where he cried silently, plotting his escape. College, he decided. He'd get a scholarship, leave this town, and never look back. The harassment escalated. Jake and his friends cornered Chase in the locker room after PE, pinning him against the wall. You like looking at us, queer? Jake sneered, his face inches away. Chase's heart pounded, but he held his ground, staring back defiantly. Leave me alone, he muttered, but it only fueled their laughter. A punch to the gut left him gasping, and as he doubled over, Jake whispered, "Stay in your lane, or it'll get worse." Chase reported it anonymously to the principal, but nothing changed. The school, in an era before widespread anti-bullying policies, swept it under the rug. Friends? He had none left. They distanced themselves to avoid the taint. Home provided no sanctuary. Bill's offhand comments about those people on the news, gays pushing for marriage rights, stung like barbs. It's unnatural, he'd say, and Chase would nod, swallowing his truth. Sarah suspected something, her gentle probes met with walls. One evening, after a particularly brutal day where his backpack was vandalized with pink paint, Chase broke. In his journal, he wrote, "I hate who I am, but I won't let them win." He threw himself into studies, acing tests, joining debate club to build his resume. Scholarships were his ticket out. As senior year loomed, Chase found a glimmer of hope in Ryan, a transfer student from California. Ryan was open about his bisexuality, unfazed by stares. They bonded over books in the library, sharing stolen glances that made Chase's pulse race. For the first time, he felt seen not as a freak but as a person. Their friendship deepened into something more, secret kisses in empty classrooms. But Jake caught wind. One afternoon, he ambushed Ryan in the parking lot, warning him to stay away from the ferry. Ryan, bolder than Chase, stood up. "Mind your own business." It backfired. Jake's crew jumped him, leaving bruises. Chase, witnessing from afar, felt guilt crash over him. Was loving someone worth this pain? The climax came at prom. Chase skipped it, but Ryan convinced him to meet afterward. As they walked in a park, hand in hand under streetlights, Jake's truck pulled up. "Look at the lovebirds," he yelled. Hurling a soda can that hit Chase's shoulder. Ryan charged, but Jake's friends held him back. In the scuffle, Chase shouted, "Why do you hate me so much?" Jake paused, his face twisting. "Because you're disgusting." But in that moment, Chase saw a flicker. Fear? Insecurity? It didn't matter. The police were called, but no charges stuck. Ryan's family moved him away for safety, leaving Chase heartbroken. Graduation was bittersweet. Chase walked the stage, diploma in hand, ignoring Jake's smirk from the crowd. He hugged Sarah, who whispered, "I'm proud of you." Bill clapped stiffly. That summer, Chase came out to his mother in a tearful confession. She held him, saying, "I love you no matter what." But Bill overheard, exploding in rage. "Not in my house," he bellowed. The argument raged for hours, Bible verses thrown like weapons, accusations of failure. Chase packed a bag, crashing with a cousin until college started. The rift cut deep. Bill's silence was louder than shouts. At NYU, Chase reinvented himself. New York City's vibrant scene welcomed him. Gay bars, pride parades, friends who understood. He majored in social work, driven by his past to help others. Therapy unpacked his trauma. The internalized homophobia, the anger at Jake, the longing for his father's approval. He dated casually, but trust was fragile. One relationship ended when his boyfriend dismissed his stories as high school drama. "Move on," he said. But how? The scars lingered. Years blurred. By 2015, Chase was 26, running a community center in Brooklyn for LGBTQ youth. He counseled kids like his younger self, teaching resilience. Life was good until a call from Sarah. Bill had a heart attack. Chase flew home, the familiar streets stirring ghosts. At the hospital, Bill looked frail. "Son," he rasped, "I was wrong. Scared of what I didn't understand." Tears flowed. Forgiveness tentative but real. Chase stayed a week, mending fences. Back in New York, fate twisted. At the center, a new volunteer appeared. Ethan Harlan, 18, Jake's son. Chase recognized the last name instantly, his stomach dropping. Ethan was earnest, helping with events, sharing his own story, questioning his sexuality, facing bullying at school. "My dad's old school," Ethan confided. "He doesn't get it." Chase listened, masking his turmoil. Should he reveal the connection? Confront? The internal conflict raged. Help the kid, or let the past poison the present? As weeks passed, Ethan opened up more. His home life was strained. Jake, now a divorced mechanic, drank too much, spouting outdated views. Ethan admired Chase's poise, unaware of the history. Chase mentored him, but nightmares returned. The cafeteria slime, Jake's sneers. One day, Ethan mentioned his father's high school glory days. Chase tensed. "What was he like?" Ethan shrugged. "Popular, I guess. But he's changed, regret stuff." The turning point came when Ethan faced expulsion for fighting a bully who called him slurs. Chase advocated for him, drawing on his experience. In gratitude, Ethan invited Chase to dinner. There, at a modest diner, Jake walked in, older, weathered. Recognition dawned. "Thompson," Jake stammered. Chase nodded coolly. The air thickened with unspoken accusations. Jake approached, voice low. I'm sorry. For everything." Chase's heart raced. Rage, pity mixing. Ethan watched, confused. Chase could expose Jake, shatter his son's image. Instead, he said, "Apology accepted. But words aren't enough." Jake nodded, eyes downcast. Later, alone with Ethan, Chase shared fragments of the past, framing it as a lesson in growth. But doubt crept in. Was forgiving Jake a betrayal of his younger self? Society praised redemption arcs, but what about the victim's pain? Chase wrestled with ethics. Help Ethan, indirectly aiding Jake's legacy? Or walk away, perpetuating cycles? Highs and lows followed. Chase's center hosted a pride event. Jake attended, awkwardly supportive. Bill visited New York, meeting Chase's partner, Mark, a steady architect who'd helped Chase heal. Family dinners were stiff but progressing. Yet backlash hit. A conservative group protested the center, echoing old prejudices. Chase stood firm, but it drained him. Ethan came out to Jake, fearing rejection. To Chase's surprise, Jake hugged him. "I won't make the same mistakes." Was it genuine? Chase pondered the cost of change. Jake's lost marriage, isolation. Everyone paid prices. In a quiet moment, Chase reflected on his journey. From victim to advocate, the bully's shadows shaping his strength. But at what cost? The love he found with Mark was hard-won. Trust earned through vulnerability. As the story closes, Chase sits in his office, watching Ethan laugh with peers. Forgiveness isn't erasure. It's a choice. But is it always right to extend mercy to those who once destroyed you, even if it heals the next generation? The cafeteria incident wasn't just a prank. It was the spark that ignited Chase's transformation. In the months following, he isolated himself further, channeling energy into academics. His GPA soared to 4.0, earning him early acceptance to NYU with a full ride. But the psychological toll mounted. Nightmares of Jake's face haunted him, waking him in sweats. Sarah noticed his weight loss, the dark circles, but Chase brushed it off as senior stress. Deep down, he questioned his worth. If being gay meant this suffering, was it worth embracing? Bill's pressure added fuel. "You need to think about your future wife," he'd say over dinner, oblivious to Chase's flinch. Sarah tried mediating, but Bill's worldview was unyielding, shaped by a blue-collar life where deviation meant weakness. One explosive argument erupted when Bill found a pride pamphlet in Chase's room. "What is this crap?" he yelled. Chase, cornered, shouted back, "It's who I am." Bill stormed out, leaving Sarah in tears. The house divided. Chase felt like an intruder in his own home. At school, Jake's reign continued. He spread rumors that Chase hit on him, turning more students against him. Chase's only ally was Ms. Rivera, the English teacher, who encouraged his writing. "Use your pain to fuel your voice," she said. He poured emotions into stories, fictional tales of outcasts finding power. It was cathartic, but not enough. Ryan's departure left a void. Letters exchanged, but distance cooled their spark. Chase dated no one else, fearing more loss. Society's gaze weighed heavy. News of gay bashings, political debates on don't ask, don't tell. He felt like a battleground. Graduation day, Chase delivered the valedictorian speech on resilience, eyes locking with Jake's. "We all face darkness, but we choose light." Jake shifted uncomfortably. Afterward, at the party Chase avoided, he heard Jake boasted about college football scholarships. Envy mixed with schadenfreude. Jake's future seemed golden, while Chase's was uncertain. Leaving for NYU, Chase hugged Sarah tightly. "Call me," she whispered. Bill offered a gruff handshake. On the plane, tears fell, relief, grief. New York assaulted his senses. Crowds, diversity. His dorm mate, Carlos, was openly gay, inviting him to events. Chase hesitated, then dove in. Pride March was revelatory, thousands celebrating what he'd hidden. He kissed a stranger, feeling alive. But trauma lingered. In therapy, he unpacked the cafeteria. "It made me feel worthless." The therapist nodded. "Reclaim your narrative." Chase volunteered at a hotline, listening to stories mirroring his. Healed piecemeal. A year in, he met Mark at a cafe. Mark, with kind eyes and a dry wit, asked about his scar, a faint mark from the prom scuffle. Chase shared bits, testing waters. Mark listened without judgment. Their first date, walks in Central Park, talking dreams. Chase's walls cracked. Back home, Sarah updated him. Bill softened, attending a PFLAG meeting. "He misses you." Chase visited for Thanksgiving. Bill apologized awkwardly. "I didn't know how to handle it." Tentative peace. Meanwhile, Jake's life unraveled. Rumors reached Chase via old classmates. Jake flunked college, injured his knee, returned home defeated. Married young, had Ethan, divorced bitterly. Chase felt a twisted satisfaction. Karma? At 22, Chase graduated, landing a job at the center. Mentoring kids, he saw echoes of himself. One boy, bullied relentlessly, reminded him of Ethan years later. The connection hit when Ethan volunteered. Harlan. Chase read on the form, pulse quickening. Ethan's resemblance to Jake was uncanny. Same jawline, but softer eyes. Chase debated turning him away, but ethics won. The kid needed help. Their first talk, Ethan shared school taunts. They call me fag because I do theater. Chase empathized. I know that pain. Inside, turmoil. Help Jake spawn? But Ethan was innocent. As bonds formed, Chase confronted his bias. Was hating Ethan fair? No, but the past screamed. One night, Mark noticed Chase's distraction. Talk to me. Chase confessed the history. Mark urged, don't let hate define you. Wise words hard to follow. Ethan's presence forced Chase to relive buried memories. During group sessions at the center, Ethan shared his fears. What if my dad finds out I'm bi? Chase facilitated, masking his knowledge of Jake. Family can surprise you, he said, thinking of Bill's evolution. But doubt nagged. Jake capable of change? Chase's work intensified. A funding cut threatened the center. He rallied donors, speaking at events. Our youth deserve safety, he argued, drawing from personal scars. Success came, but exhaustion followed. Mark supported, their relationship deepening. Cohabitation, talks of marriage post-Obergefell. Home visits increased. Bill, post-heart attack, reflected. I pushed you away out of fear. Chase forgave, but boundaries remained. Sarah beamed at their reconciliation. Ethan's crisis peaked. Caught kissing a boy, school suspended him. Bullies escalated, echoing Chase's past. Ethan confided. Dad flipped, said it's a phase. Chase advised patience, but anger at Jake simmered. Deciding to intervene, Chase called Jake anonymously via the center. Your son's struggling. Jake's voice, gruff. Who is this? Chase hung up, conflicted. Was meddling ethical? Later, Ethan invited Chase to a school play. Jake attended, their eyes meeting across the auditorium. Post-show, Jake approached. You're Chase Thompson. Chase nodded. Small world. Tension crackled. Ethan introduced. Dad, this is my mentor. Jake paled. Alone later, Jake cornered Chase. I didn't know he was here. Chase snapped. Does it matter? He's a good kid. Jake admitted. I've messed up. With you, with him. Chase demanded. Prove it. The confrontation unearthed truths. Jake confessed his own repressed feelings. Bullying as projection. I was scared. Chase scoffed. That excuse is nothing. But empathy flickered. Societal pressures shaped monsters. Ethan learned pieces hurt by his father's past. You hurt Chase. Jake owned it. Yes, and I'm ashamed. Family therapy ensued, Chase stepping back. But backlash. A local paper outed the connection, framing it as victim mentors bully's son. Protests at the center, homophobes versus supporters. Chase's privacy invaded, stress mounting. Mark proposed amid chaos. Marry me, through it all. Chase accepted, a beacon. Yet moral quandaries persisted. Forgiving Jake. Did it diminish victims' pain? Chase journaled. Redemption costs the forgiven nothing if the forgiver pays. High-profile cases mirrored. Celebrities outing past bullies. Chase debated publicly sharing, but chose privacy. Ethan thrived, coming out fully. Jake supported, attending Pride. Change real? Chase watched warily. A betrayal loomed. A center board member, conservative, leaked info to sabotage. Chase fought, exposing corruption. Victory, but trust shattered. The leaks' fallout tested alliances. Chase's boss sided with him, firing the board member. But damage done, donations dipped, youth wary. Chase rebuilt, hosting forums on forgiveness. It's not forgetting. It's freeing yourself. Personally, wedding planning with Mark brought joy. Bill walked him down the aisle, a tearful milestone. Sarah gushed, "My boys." Jake sent a card. "Congratulations." Chase tossed it, unresolved. Ethan graduated, choosing NYU, Chase's alma mater. "Thanks to you," he said. Chase mentored from afar, but distance highlighted growth. Years later, 2020 pandemic hit. Center went virtual. Chase counseled remotely. Isolation stirred old demons, cafeteria flashbacks. Therapy helped. "You've built a legacy." Jake reached out. Ethan struggled with depression. "Help him." Chase agreed. Video calls revealing Ethan's isolation. "Dad tries, but he's flawed." Chase guided. "Flaws don't define." Society evolved. More acceptance, but backlash persisted. Anti-trans bills, hate crimes. Chase advocated, testifying in hearings. "Protect our kids." A twist. Jake's health declined. Liver issues from drinking. Ethan cared for him, role reversal. Chase visited Chicago, meeting Jake bedside. "Why help my son?" Jake asked. Chase, "Because hate stops with me." Jake wept. "Thank you." But internal conflict. Was this mercy or masochism? Friends debated, some said cut ties, others praised compassion. Mark supported, "You're stronger for it." The center expanded. Chase promoted. Ethan interned summers, cycle breaking. Yet, a dark moment. Chase learned Jake minimized his bullying to others. Anger flared. Confrontation? He chose dialogue. "Own your truth." Jake did, apologizing publicly in a local op-ed. Response mixed. Praise for growth. Criticism for too little too late. Chase pondered justice. Family dynamics shifted. Bill, retired, volunteered at PFLAG. Making amends. Love with Mark deepened. No kids, but fulfillment in work. As 2025 neared, Chase reflected. Pain forged purpose. But the price, lost innocence, guarded heart. In a quiet cafe, Chase treated Ethan to lunch for free, a symbolic gesture. Ethan, "Why?" Chase smiled. "Pay it forward." The free meal wasn't planned. It slipped out, a nod to unresolved grudges. Ethan accepted, unaware of layers. Back home, Chase confided in Mark. "It felt right, but weird." Mark, "Healing takes odd forms." Work challenges mounted. A youth suicide at another center shook Chase, echoes of his despair. He pushed for mental health funding, lobbying DC exhausting, but impactful. Jake's recovery was slow. He joined AA, sharing his story. "Bullying hid my pain." Chase attended a meeting anonymously, hearing Jake's remorse. Cathartic, but not closure. Society's mirror. Supreme Court rulings on LGBTQ rights fluctuated. Chase marched, voice hoarse from chants. Personal betrayal. A ex-friend outed Chase's past online, twisting it. Trolls harassed. Chase went private. Resilience tested. Ethan dated openly, facing microaggressions. Chase advised, "Stand tall." Ethan, "Like you did." Bill's visit. "Proud of you, son." Mended fully. A high-stakes decision. Chase considered running for local office, advocate broader. Pros, change, cons, scrutiny. Mark, "If it's your path." Debate intensified. Forgiving Jake publicly? Podcast invited him. Chase shared, "Forgiveness is personal, not obligatory." Backlash. Some called him weak. He countered, "Strength is choosing peace." Ethan's wedding to a man Jake officiated. Chase attended, surreal. Jake thanked him privately. "You saved my family." But doubt. Did Jake deserve this? Center thrived. Chase authored a book on resilience. Bestseller, catharsis. Yet moral gray, helping Ethan indirectly redeem Jake. Fair? Book tour brought reflections. Audiences shared stories, validating Chase's path. One question, how do you forgive the unforgivable? Chase, "You don't always. You move forward." Home, Mark and he adopted a dog, symbolic family. Jake's full turnaround. Volunteering at a shelter. Chase collaborated on an event. Uneasy alliance. Society's progress. More inclusive laws, but divides deepened. Chase navigated, balanced. Ethan's career. Social worker. Inspired by Chase. Cycle complete. A final confrontation. Old classmate revealed Jake's past denial. Chase addressed, growth isn't linear. Jake recommitted. As story peaks, Chase faces his demon. Visiting Lincoln High, speaking on bullying. Cafeteria unchanged. He stood tall. Closure? Not fully. Pain lingers, fuel for good. In the end, Chase's life was a tapestry of scars and triumphs. He built bridges where walls once stood, but at what personal cost? The decisions, forgiving, helping, sparked debates in his circle. Was mercy a virtue or a vulnerability? Society watched similar stories unfold. Victims confronting tormentors, seeking justice or peace. Chase's choice leaned toward the latter, but he wondered if it was right. As he sat with Mark, watching the sunset over Brooklyn, peace settled. Yet, the question remains, is it morally correct to extend forgiveness to a former bully, even if it benefits their innocent child? Or does true justice demand eternal accountability?